Boom! We're back, and today we have some black on black belt crime as we have Andy on the left and Tyler, me, on the right. Andy has only been in one other video when he was going up against Brock, and Brock made him look like a white belt, so hopefully I can do the same thing to him and he's not going to try and do that to me. I'm also working with a new camera person, so you're going to have to let me know how my Padawan is doing after this video, and hopefully the footage looks alright. Andy is famous for backing out when things start to get dire, so I'm going to let him be in the top position so he feels a little bit more comfortable, and then I can set up my own attacks. He's looking to elevate my legs, and when he does that, I want to make sure I can constantly be balancing on my hands. Then I can walk around the mat as he tries to pressure me forward, or I can push back into him if he gives me enough space. Now I have absolutely no issue with standing up and wrestling. You all know I love to wrestle, however if the other person doesn't want to engage in wrestling because they're only looking for sprawls or to back up, it makes it really difficult to do any offensive wrestling. Sitting down is the right call for me because I want Andy to make some offensive moves. The more that he makes moves, the more counters will open up for me, and we all know that I love to go for counters. He tries to leg drag me to the side, but I keep backing up on my hands so I can easily stop his guard pass attempt. Then I scoop backwards and I return to the standing position. If you have a speed advantage over your opponent like I do, it's always great to use it. Generally, backing up in your hands is not the fastest position that you can be in, but I was still able to stop Andy from passing my guard. As I push forward and Andy's backing up, I decide to sit down once again, but I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive because the ground isn't progressing how I'd like. Now I don't recommend wrestling off of your knees, but I was able to pull it off in that situation because 1, I was faster, and 2, he was attacking my head. My head was all the way in his chest, so if he tries to attack my head up there, it's too late and it's going to be really difficult to try and sprawl out on me. Now to touch on my question of the day really quickly, do you prefer to do pressure passes or floating passes? Floating passes are still my #1 way to pass someone's guard, but I've really been practicing on my pressure passes and trying to roll a little bit more like Brock. Let me know in the comments below what passing style you prefer. Now the crucial detail about pressure passing is that you need to understand how to apply more pressure. That means you're focusing on attacking their hips with a lot of downwards force and also their chest. They already have to carry all of your weight, and then you can add gravity into the equation and it's going to become a really tiring experience for your opponent. My #1 advice for top control is you always need to be pinching your knees and hips together. I absolutely love to sit in 3/4 mount, even more than mount, and the reason is because they're on their side. When they're on their side, they're far more narrow compared to when they're in mount. You have to cover more of their torso if they're in full mount, however you do have more submissions available to you. It really depends on what your goal is, if you're looking for top pressure and control, trying to tire them out, or if you're trying to get a quick victory. Now if you're like Andy, or if you've seen any of my videos in the past, you can already tell what submission I'm trying to set up. I'm looking to get his neck off the ground so I can look towards the guillotine. But since he was so concerned about the choke, he gave me full mount, and now I can apply a little bit more pressure and start pinching my legs together until he starts to turn towards his left side and shrimping out. Andy does a nice job pushing the knee all the way through and then turning back to his side so he can return to half guard. But in the process, he allowed me to wrap my arm around his neck. He also doesn't have a deep enough underhook that he can start to throw me off of him, and I start posting on my head. Then once I'm able to cinch my hands together, I want to keep all my weight towards his neck, and this is going to allow me to free my legs from his legs. I want to get to mount as fast as I can, and once I do this, the choke is basically guaranteed. I just need to squeeze everything together, and then I get Andy to tap, and you can see me tap a new black belt out on camera. And now that you see my guillotine power, I want you to press like on the video. It'll really help me out, and you don't want to end up in a guillotine because you didn't do it. We move into the next round, and once again I'm letting Andy start on top. I love to sit in the reverse de la Riva position because I like to monitor their leg with just one of my legs. This allows the rest of my body to move pretty freely, and I can start setting up submissions such as the guillotine or other nice sweep attempts. Andy reaches for my head, and then I'm going to sweep him over his right side, but we get kicked by another group. I don't want to challenge them at this time, so we're going to scoot over, and I'll let Andy start on top of me once again. As Andy comes back on top of me, I'm looking to set up the same bottom position. I want to bring my right leg in so I can establish reverse de la Riva. As he starts to move around me, I'm looking for another sweep attempt. I want to make sure that hand fighting is the first priority, however. As he pushes forward, I use my reverse de la Riva hook to bring his leg in, then I bring my other leg underneath the leg, extend him, and I keep my body weight on top of him as I gain top half guard control. When I'm on top of Andy, I want to make sure that he has absolutely no space. Check out what my left arm is doing. I'm in the bonus head position, and I want to drive his face away from me. This is going to stop him from turning into me and shrimping, and it's also going to let me set up some new guard pass attempts. It's not required that I hold that position the entire time, but it is always a good spot to go to if you don't know what you should do next. I continuously try and bring my weight higher on Andy's body, and the reason I'm doing this is because we want to make sure we can maintain chest on chest pressure. If I can keep Andy flat on his back, there is no way he's going to be able to sweep me and get out of this terrible position. It's just fun to be always pressuring your opponent. If you want to have more fun in jiu-jitsu, try and do more things like that, and you're going to make it really miserable for them, but at least you'll be having a good time. One thing that I like to do from half guard is I try and bring my leg over their arm. This is sort of like a crucifix, but you just have to know that if you bring your knee up, you're giving up position with your hips. You won't be able to pinch their body nearly as much as you want, but you are able to set up new chokes. This was a lighter round you got to see me work in, but at least I was going up against another black belt. If you appreciate the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and thanks to all my current viewers and patrons.